I never wanted to be a leader. It was never a goal. It happened when I did things I'm passionate about that make a difference, that people value. It was really by observing, by looking at role models. Again, my parents were big role models in my life, but also seeing how people do it in every path I cross, be it at AUB with wonderful role models, but also in the States with experts. And knowledge is power.
You are ranked among the top 2% most cited scientists worldwide in your field. Beyond bibliometrics, what does impact mean to you?
Making a difference in patients' lives. Anybody can compete with excellence. So not wanting to be just good, striving to be excellent and always put the higher standards. You achieve something, don't stop there. Keep wanting to achieve more. So really putting world-class quality, excellent research, hard work, collegiality. Engaging with people is very important for credibility, showing them what you do, sharing with them how you do it, and being very transparent. Follow your passion. Don't give up, don't compromise, because when you love what you do, you will succeed. There is no way. Purpose, passion, and perseverance. And they were the guiding lights from the beginning, the get-go, and until now.
Welcome to the Voices of Valor podcast, where we celebrate pioneering women who are redefining business and leadership across various sectors. I'm Nada Khaddash Sobah, the director of the Center for Women in Business at the Sulaiman Olayan School of Business at the American University of Beirut. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest today, Dr. Ghada El-Hajj Fuleihan. Dr. El-Hajj Fuleihan earned her MD from the American University of Beirut and completed her residency and fellowship training at Harvard Medical School, affiliated institutions, later obtaining her Master's of Public Health from Harvard Chan School of Public Health. She went on to found and lead the Calcium Metabolism and Osteoporosis program at AUB, now a WHO collaborating center for metabolic bone disorders, as well as the NIH-funded Scholars in Health Research program, shaping generations of clinicians, scientists in the region. With more than 200 peer-reviewed publications, international guidelines, and clinical trials that have transformed the practice globally, she ranked among the world's top 2% most cited scientists in endocrinology and metabolism. Beyond the numbers, her work has fundamentally advanced women's health, evidence-based medicine, and the clinical research infrastructure in Lebanon and the region. Today, we explore her journey of scientific excellence, institutional leadership, and impact-driven mentorship. You're more than welcome, Dr. Ghada, in our Voices of Valor podcast. Thank you for giving us the time, and we really appreciate. You trained and built your early research career at Harvard-affiliated institutions before returning to Lebanon. What motivated your decision to come back and build scientific excellence in the region?
So I think the inspiration comes from the grassroots childhood, parents as role model, and also some teachers as role models. So when I left to the States to do my house staff training and my fellowship training, it was always to get the higher standards of excellence in education. But always in my heart was to come back. Both my parents are educators and citizens, builders of institutions, so I had an excellent model to start with. What motivated really me is very simple. It's giving back to my alma mater, giving back to my country, and raising the future generations of physicians, scientists, endocrinologists in my beloved country.
We were lucky actually as well to have you. You founded the Calcium Metabolism and Osteoporosis program at AUB at a time when clinical research infrastructure in the region was really still developing. What were the biggest challenges in building a world-class program from the ground up?
Thank you for that question. When we decided, my husband and I, to come back to Lebanon, it dawned on me that I'm going back 15 years later to an institution where I had no idea how good the infrastructure for research was. And I think one of the best decisions I made in my career, second to being a doctor, was to do my additional training at the Harvard THN School of Public Health. It all started with getting aware of a program that builds the skill set to do clinical research, and that's called the Clinical Effectiveness Program. And it started with me doing only a diploma over summer, 8 to 5 intense, the year before we came back. And I saw that as a must before moving back to AUB. And it was followed quickly by my decision to complete with a master, as you said. And this really was a transformative experience that made me aware of the importance of essential skill sets to be able to carry a research anywhere in the world, and more so in Lebanon. So the challenges, of course, when I came back were a totally absent infrastructure for clinical research. And I think the opportunities, when you have nothing, are great. And it took some convincing power, some need assessment, and knowledge gap evidence and infrastructure gap evidence presented to, as simply as the hospital director back then, John Roeder. And I said, we need a room to see study subjects. I need to create something, and I can see 4 rooms on this floor that nobody's using. I would like to have them. This was, I think, 2 or 3 years after I came back. And everybody was like, of course she's not going to get that. It happened. So that was the first building pillar, the clinical research unit, with a nurse and a place to see study subjects. And bit by bit, my drive to create at AUB what I experienced at Harvard grew. Money was not available. The opportunity did not make itself until 10 years later, which is when I saw a funding opportunity by the NIH, went for it, revised it, and competed with 64 other centers. They funded 16, 2 international, AUB was one of them, and that was the Scholars in Health Research Program. So things aligned, but there was a motivation, a drive, purpose, passion, and perseverance. I never lost track of my vision and my urge to do that. The second thing that helped was when one of the previous Dean Sayer, came back to Lebanon. He pursued me and tried to convince me to be Associate Dean of Research. And I really didn't want it because I didn't want to leave my lab. I wanted to do what I do. And it coincided with a scholar's birth. And I said no multiple times. He said, what do you need? I said, I have a vision, a clinical research institute. We need to improve the IRB. We need a social behavior IRB. We need an HRPP. He said, you can do it all. Just say yes. So there was an alignment of vision and opportunities again. And when I was, although for a brief period, Associate Dean for Research, I created the Clinical Research Institute, the Education Unit, the Biostatistics Unit. I actually founded the Social Behavioral IRB and created the HRPP, Human Research Protection Program, which oversees research campus-wide. So again, alignment of opportunity, but identification of a gap that I was ready to take on and really do the hard work to make it happen. I guess I was lucky, and AUB is an institution that was ready for such improvements in the infrastructure of research.
This vision that you're talking about, I always put you as just like the role model of just like seeing the vision and walking towards the vision, because it's very well known about you that Dr. Ghada has the vision and she's only working towards this vision. Your work has directly influenced actually the national and the international clinical guidelines. How does it feel to see research translate into policy and practice that changes patients' life globally?
I think one of the main motivations for me to do the research I do, creating the WHO Collaborating Center, founding it, and redesigning it. Every 5 years we get redesignated. We just got redesignated now, despite the war, was the need to fill, again, knowledge gap. We think that we know everything in medicine. Well, lo and behold, there's a lot of things we practice that are not based on evidence, but based on expert opinion. So the knowledge gap identification leads to the need to conduct research. And the research is conducted to improve evidence to give better care. So there's always this connection between your research program, and every single program we do and every single project we undertake is aiming at filling a knowledge gap that improves patients' care and patients' outcome. And thus, with the background and methodology that I had, and with somebody like Ghada El, who's now associate provost, we saw eye to eye, right? We had the infrastructure with a great center to really do a first-class job with guidelines. So the first time I got into position statement and expert opinions many years before we became leaders in guidelines. But that was the background work. So we were experts when everybody was experts. But then we rose that level to being really rigorous researcher, developing rigorous, robust evidence to develop evidence-based guidelines. And so the Lebanese vitamin D guidelines that we launched in 2022 are the perfect example, with a fantastic team, Dr. Asma Arabi, Dr. Marlene Shahtoura, working with Dr. Ghada and the Great Center, and aligning with us a group of experts from Lebanon and international. So always relying on your rich network of experts to raise the level, to elevate the experience. And shortly at the same time, the Endocrine Society asked me to chair the hypercalcemia guidelines, which is, it's an international institution. And I said yes, because it was to fill a knowledge gap that resonated with my care of my patients, but with care of patients globally. So we've always used our experience locally to make our research not only locally relevant, but globally relevant. And that's really the fun of it.
Yeah. As a physician scientist, you balance clinical care, laboratory research, teaching, and leadership. How did you learn to navigate and integrate these multiple roles effectively?
Let me start with leadership, which is the easy one. I never wanted to be a leader. It was never a goal. It happened when I did things I'm passionate about that make a difference, that people value. So I really want to be clear on that. And I never had any formal training in leadership. It was really by observing, by looking at role models. Again, my parents were big role models in my life, but also seeing how people do it in every path I cross, be it at AUB with wonderful role models, but also in the States with experts. And knowledge is power. So you need to be solid in knowledge to be able to handle and juggle all that. You need to be a good, organized, disciplined person to be able to finish things on task and not lose time. So that I was from childhood, I guess. It was the military uprising. And some things have to give way. By character, I'm not somebody who wants to spend a lot of time on socializing. I care about sports. I care about my career. I care about family. So I structured my life with my spouse, who's a doctor, along those priorities. And again, a lot of support. When we came back from the States, my kids were young. I had a very supportive mother, a very supportive husband, and a very supportive sister who was at OSP, who would take care of the kids when I had to be at work. Because being a doctor is not evident. It's really a big commitment emotionally, time-wise, and mentally.
Yeah. Actually, it's a good time also to remember Dr. Sana as well. We all know her dedication to AUB as well as to the family. You are ranked among the top 2% most cited scientists worldwide in your field. Beyond bibliometrics, what does impact mean to you?
Making a difference in patients' lives. I think the citations, the impact factor, who you rank among the world, reflects how valuable your research is. And it's valuable, I think, because it had a goal, improving knowledge and optimizing patient care. So for me, it's wonderful to be top 2 cited or 1.5 or whatever, but I think it's more important to have a research that's respected. People seek your opinion, people seek your collaboration, seek your contributions to any initiatives internationally, because they know that you do things in a rigorous and robust manner. They know the quality of your work. So it's a reflection of all the back-end work that nobody really looks at, but that's what it takes. And I always tell my mentees, to do a project and write a paper is a tedious process. It's long, it's laborious, it's frustrating, but I like to write. And the best part is when it comes together in a paper that makes an impact. So there is a lot of background work behind this impact that is not obvious at first look.
Yeah, I'm smiling just like because we all live the suffer of the research, yet we don't know why do we repeat it more often, and just like we're waiting just for this, yet being responsible when writing research is really something that we look up to you, and we know that research is critical if not responsibly written or responsibly just dealt with.
If I may add one more thing, to have impactful research, it takes not only a lot of hard work, but it takes a lot of teamwork and collaborations. And working with a rich network of experts, local, but importantly also international, brings you a lot of joys from acquiring new knowledge, looking at new skills, and having a wider and more diverse perspective. So it's very fulfilling, the experience itself, before you get to the publication and the impact. And all that background landscape, if I may say, is really what makes you say yes so many times. Yes, I want to do this. Yes, I accept to do that. Yes, I'll take on the lead on this.
Much of your research focuses on osteoporosis and vitamin D, conditions that mostly affect women more than men. How do you see your scientific work contributing to women's health in specific and empowerment more broadly?
It so happens that osteoporosis is more a disease of women than men. But the lessons learned from osteoporosis in women really apply to men. And a lot of the guidelines that are coming out for the management of osteoporosis in women are actually extended by proxy to men. So women's health, of course, is a very important topic. Women spend 1/3, if not more, of their life in a postmenopausal state that is a major cause of bone loss and osteoporosis. And therefore, again, the impact of doing research in that field is extremely powerful. And I think what people do not recognize is that there is a lot of attention in developing countries on infectious diseases epidemics. But what kills women and men in the region and globally is non-communicable diseases. And what people don't realize is that osteoporosis is more common than cardiovascular diseases and also cancer, both in women and men. So that gives you a sense of why is it important to look at epidemiology, secondary causes, treatment of osteoporosis, prevention of osteoporosis, looking at quality of life impact, et cetera. So I think it's a very important disease burden. Addressing it in women applies to men and makes a difference globally in the NCD domain.
You established the Scholars in Health Research program to mentor the next generation of researchers. What gaps did you see that led you to create this program?
So I gave you the story how it started with my keen interest before moving to AUB. Out of self-interest, I may say selfishness. I want to be able to be independent to do research when I move back to AUB because I have no idea what AUB can offer me as support. But then when I realized how transformative this experience was to my ability to do high-quality research, from day one stepping foot here, I actually spoke with Dean Ortas about wanting to create something similar. And as I mentioned before, there was a delay because there was no funding available. But that conviction never left me. The way it impacted my career, the way it allowed me to mentor my trainees, even before the Scholars Program was created, teaching them how to do research, was the motivation to really make it a structured institutional program within the institution. And the rest is history. We founded it in 2013. We've graduated over 450 trainees. They get accepted in the best training centers in the US. Some of them are our own faculty at AUB. So it's kind of the life cycle of physician scientists initiated really with a program that did not exist at all, not only in Lebanon, but the whole region. And it keeps growing.
Yeah.
And it keeps giving.
And we're seeing the results, actually. We're seeing the impact at AUB as well as international level. In high scientific and academic leadership spaces that are often male-dominated, what strategies help you earn credibility and sustain the influence, especially in your major, more than others, maybe?
I go back and say quality of work, rigorous work, trustworthy work, work that makes a difference that people can rely on. There is no way anybody can compete with excellence. So not wanting to be just good, striving to be excellent and always put the higher standards. You achieve something, don't stop there. Keep wanting to achieve more. So really putting world-class quality, excellent research, hard work, collegiality, engaging with people is very important for credibility, showing them what you do, sharing with them how you do it, and being very transparent. So again, leadership was not a goal. Leadership was a result of what you love to do.
I love this. No one can compete with excellence, which is something like we should always think about. You've chaired guideline committees and collaborated with global organizations like the WHO or the Endocrine Society. What leadership qualities are essential when shaping such international consequences?
Being humble, saying when you don't know that you don't know, seeking to get more knowledge to be solid, accepting opinion and criticism of others, and really engaging in a very collegial way. I was lucky when I accepted several guidelines, chairing guidelines, including the Endocrine Society, to work with a wonderful panel of very multidisciplinary group. So really being humble, trustworthy, knowledgeable, open to suggestions. I mean, I'm repeating myself, we're key. And just being part of a team. It's really like sports team. It's an engagement where everybody puts the best they can and make the product a priority to be the best product possible.
For young women in medicine and research who aspire to academic leadership as you, what advice would you give them about resilience, excellence, and long-term vision?
Follow your passion. Don't give up, don't compromise, because when you love what you do, you will succeed. There is no way. And I can quote something very personable that happened to me when I wanted to do medicine. My father said, medicine, that's long, you're a woman. And we're talking, in the late 70s. And I said, but I love medicine. He said, but you're also good at math. Why don't you do matelem? That was the second, the second before you go to university. I said, yeah, I love math. I'll do matelem, no problem. So I went into matelem at IC. And I did very well, and I loved it. And then came the time to apply to AUB. He said, what are you applying to? I said, medicine. He goes, but you did matelem. I said, yes, to please you, and I love math, but I want to do medicine. And it goes on, right? I'm French educated. I go into AUB. I start having 75 and 80 and 75 and 80. And these are no grades to get into medical school. So to be honest, I chickened out. And I went to my dad and I said, Dad, maybe I should do engineering. Maybe I should transfer to engineering. He laughed. He could have taken advantage of my weakness. He said, no. We don't give up. You decided you want medicine. You continue with medicine. And of course, I got used to the system from French to American. Second semester, it was in the 90s, and the rest was history, and I went into medicine. But the lessons learned is I love doing what I do because from the baseline, this was my passion. And my parents allowed me to do my passion. So I think being passionate is the key to success, but with it, perseverance and a goal. Purpose, passion, and perseverance. And they were the guiding lights from the beginning, the get-go, and until now.
I think we're leaving this episode with lots of passion, patience, and perseverance, as well as parents' guidance. I believe that it's all in a nutshell. Thank you for all the lessons. In this episode, as well as in your career path, we learned a lot, as always, and we look forward to much more learnings from you, Dr. Ghada.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be with you and for listening.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Voices of Valor. Dr. Ghada El-Hajj Fuleihan has shared remarkable insights, and we hope her journey has inspired you as much as it has inspired us. The women we highlight in this podcast embody courage, resilience, and leadership, redefining the future of business and beyond. Through their stories, we aim to remind you of the transformative power of determination, collaboration, and positive action. Join us next time for more empowering conversation with women driving meaningful change. Until then, continue to amplify your own voice of valor.